Hello. Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. When I say the Borg, if you are a Star Trek fan or even tangentially connected to Star Trek, if you've seen any episodes of the Next Generation or any of the later series, you probably know who I'm talking about. The name is evocative, and it is one of the classic and iconic villains of that franchise, the Borg. We are the Borg. Your uniqueness will be added to ours. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. The Borg are a classic villain because you can recognize them easily, and what they do, what the practice that makes them the Borg is pretty universally reviled. For those unaware, the Borg are a uh, race of cybernetic organisms. It is not from a single species or a single civilization. They have traveled the width and breadth of the star systems that they have owned and ransacked the biological diversity of those systems. They have found civilizations, taken all of the individuals, forcefully converted them into more Borg, taken their technology, found the bits that were superior or would benefit the Borg, gotten rid of everything else, and moved on, increasing their numbers and their spread and their influence. They will assimilate a whole civilization, their people, but not their people's individuality, not their hopes or dreams, not their memories, even in particular. Those are cleared away to make room for more of the Borg so that they can be used for processing power to increase the collective's overall network strength. Not that culture's art or literature, not their history, their technology. Where that technology is better. Everything else discarded. The Borg comes in, takes what makes them more of the Borg, leaves everything else in a smoking ruin. It is reprehensible. It is truly one of those things that most people can see as evil because it takes so many things that we tend to value as individuals in our society, in societies that we that collectively form our current civilization. What we are, our thoughts, our dreams, our memories, our history, uh, the literature, and the events that make us who we are, and discards them because they believe they are better and because they have the strength to force what they are on others, they believe they should. The Borg are not the first example of this type of assimilation in science fiction. For years, Doctor Who has had the Cybermen as one of their big, iconic villains. Uh, humans, who started replacing the weak parts of themselves until they would replace the weak flesh with cold, hard steel. They would replace the slow biological components with lightning fast electronics. They would replace the weak parts of their psyche, their sentiment, their emotions with cold hard logic. And because this was such a superior system, because they got a superior product out of the process, of course they had to share it. Now they had the strength to see to it that no humans had to be weak, had to have faulty parts, had to have broken emotions. and sentiment. Taking everything that they wanted, the biological framework, and maybe some skills in technology, and discarding everything that they didn't from whole civilizations in later series of Doctor Who. Until they were so good at it, so efficient, that one Cyberman spotted in an out of the way place could signal the death knell for that planet or that star system or that sector of space, because one Cyberman there could start the conversion process and everything was lost. All you would have would be gleaming ranks of silver waiting to assimilate whatever was next to it. You want to build an evil culture and you want to shorthand why that culture is evil. If you want to use some quick literary shorthand for evil civilization that needs to go away, the mechanical assimilators are always a clear choice. You can't go wrong with the mechanical assimilation. You can spread that concept out, of course. The xenomorphs from the Alien series, well, they're biological assimilators. They will take some parts of a race, some of the genetic diversity, some of the biomass, and convert it into more aliens or their structures. They'll break down what is left of the creatures that they have gestated their embryos in and turn them into hives, large structures that they can raise a queen and her brood in and go out and spread more, find more individuals to bring back and subject to a horrific process where they are eaten from the inside out and used to gestate the next generation of xenomorphs. Um, Star Trek's and other series have had their fair share of creatures that would implant gene seeds into other races that would assimilate them, slowly turn them into other members of their race with a blinding drive to either return home or to spread forward and turn others into members of their race. The gene stealers from 40K. So many biological assimilators. And again, it's we have a superior structure and the ability to force it on you. And therefore, we are better and we should. Our might makes us right. You are going to be assimilated. And that is what forms the core of that evil, that arrogance. Not an unearned arrogance. These races have, through one means or another, struggled through the process of their evolution, whether it is a biological process, they've engineered this in themselves, or by sweat of their brow and the blood of the hands of their forebears who built the first prototype systems and endured the pain of incorporating them into their bodies. They've struggled through time to get to this point of self-perceived superiority. And these shows, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Battlestar Galactica, whatever the venue, generally does a good job of showing us that what those superior races left behind was ultimately the key to beating them. That those emotions and that individuality, what we started with as a less powerful but more diverse race, is what led to the true superiority, the ability to defeat these assimilative villains. Assimilation, however, comes in many different flavors. I am more powerful than you. I am superior to you. Therefore, I get to turn you into me because you lack the power to stop me from turning you into me. You will become a member of my species. You will become a member of my faith. You will become a member of my culture. You will become a citizen of my empire. These assimilative species, these processes, may be literary shorthand for references to real world practices. Um, we have seen those with a perceived superior point of view or belief system or economic practice go to places where there are individuals, cultures who they don't perceive as superior, and for whatever reason, perhaps their superior belief system also has more swords and or gunpowder, um, convert them for their own good, of course. We are superior to you. You will be what we are. You will believe what we do. We'll take your land. I mean, that's just how it's going to be, but this is for your good, and your resources. The resources there, those are ours, but this is for your own good. We're saving you from being not us. Science fiction is a great way to mask the true meaning of a story. Um, all the way back to Aesop, when a storyteller could tell stories about embarrassing human traits, but he didn't tell them about humans. He told them about animals. He told them about a fox who wanted to get some grapes, but he couldn't reach them. No matter how hard he tried, and after a while determined that those grapes must actually have been sour, and he didn't want them, from which we currently still have the phrase sour grapes. And if Aesop had told that story about a politician, we would not have that phrase these days. Likewise, science fiction, fantasy, literature, because of its ability to use allegory, tells us, gives us a lot of cultural information, things to think about, things that we might not be able to comfortably think about or approach in a real world setting with real world examples. The study of science fiction is the study of history through a lens with laser guns and robots. Not all science fiction is meant to be deep or allegorical. Not all fantasy is meant to be a symbolic representation of a particular war or a particular practice. Some of it dead on is, however, and that's one of the things a study of literature will do for you, is tell you which is which. If you're building an evil culture, if you're building an evil civilization, if you want to shorthand your bad guys, and there's nothing wrong with shorthanding bad guys, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to create your villains. History provides a lot of amazing examples of villainy. And if you scrub off the colors and the serial numbers and repaint them as your own, add spaceships and lasers, you aren't doing badly in making your villainous evil civilization. It is a comment on our times and culture that we have so many examples of cultures and practices to go from, and that the same ones keep popping up over and over again. But when you're talking about the Borg and their ability to assimilate, you're building your villains and looking at the civilizations of, say, Star Trek. Star Trek is a great example because it's been used as allegory for so long and over such a broad spectrum. I may be about to lose some Star Trek fans because I got to talk about other forms of assimilation in Star Trek. As we mentioned, there's the Borg, obviously, and there's a countless number of races that will biologically assimilate other races. There are flat out Nazis and Romans who are practicing their own forms of assimilation and fighting them all as the bastion and paragon of proper justice and how a civilization should be conducted. In the center of this entire picture is the United Federation of Planets with its arm for exploration and warfare, Starfleet. And if you want to talk about assimilation, Starfleet values the individual. Absolutely, Starfleet values the individual. Values civilization, their literature, and their art, as long as they meet the Federation's standards. There are guidelines for what civilizations can and can't join the Federation. That makes perfect sense. Can't just have everyone in there. They're warlike races that you probably wouldn't want being part of the Federation. Unless the Federation gets something out of that. And they'll absolutely ally with the Klingons when everyone's playing nice. There are races that haven't quite come up to speed, not only on the technology that the Federation has, but on the moral and ethical and scientific background that leads to the proper and right usage of Starfleet's technology. You just can't let everyone play with antimatter. It's amazingly dangerous. It's not like you can go down to a planet and teach them how to use this stuff. It's not like you can send a team of instructors or teachers out of your vast amount of civilization, many of whom are often willing to go and conduct studies and do science and educate and counsel other races. It's not like you could leave those people on a planet where they're almost ready to hit antimatter so that you can shepherd them through being able to use it properly. Now, they have to be able to use it properly at least once before you can even think of helping them. They need to be out in space. They've got to have warp technology right in their own hands. And if they haven't, well, we're sorry. You could have a button that you push in your house that makes pie, but you don't. And I'm sorry. I'm going to sit here and eat pie in front of you from the machine that I pushed a button on and got pie out of. But you're not ready for pie yet. Someday, maybe you will be when you meet our standards. We're not going to help you meet those standards. We're probably not even going to talk to you. We're going to watch you try and meet our standards. We might put feet on the ground behind an invisible holographic duck blind and observe you trying to meet our standards and take copious notes when you fail and murder everyone on your planet in the attempt. But we're absolutely not going to interfere. That wouldn't be right. Oh, there's a volcano on your planet. We're going to take copious notes. It's probably going to be a super caldera. It's going to kill everyone on this continent. And that's going to be a real... Oh, yeah, we have a button that we can push on our spaceship. It's going to make that not happen. Oh, yeah, we've done it 100 times on planets that meet our standards. But you folks here, you're going to die. And, well, we have a rule. Can't help. Sorry. It's the good guys, folks. If you agree to try and abide by our standards, we'll help. We'll protect you until you get there. You agree to do what we want you to do, to live the way we do, because we are obviously, well, superior. We have a superior way of living. We've got superior technology. We have a superior understanding how the universe works. And if you're willing to, adopt our superior understanding, treat people the way that we believe people need to be treated because it's superior, then I'll bring you something. You push a button, you get pie. Cultural assimilation. Cultural assimilation, technological assimilation, economic assimilation with a race that, we don't use money. We have goods and services and that we have a matter of exchange for. You can get replicator credits or transporter credits. We get all such of credits, but not money. Oh no. Money's a bad thing. It doesn't take going to an alternate universe where history was flipped around a couple of times to make the Federation evil. The Federation has had bad apples in the Admiralty and in the government in their storylines who have, well, those people have something we want. Well, we're going to take it, because we're the Federation and they're not at our standard yet. They shouldn't have that. We should have that because we're superior. The thing about all of these assimilative cultures, about all of these assimilative villains, that one common thread. We are superior. We stand above you. And because we stand above you, we get to make decisions about where you go and what you do. We get to make decisions about who is benefited from this and who is discarded, who we are going to lift up, who is going to be us, and who is not. We get to make everyone else us. And if someone has something that they want us to keep, if someone has something that they want to hold on to that means a great deal to them, it doesn't really matter because we're superior. We know better. We are better. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. And because we tend to have a very strong view of our individual rights, our individuality, that our thoughts and our dreams, our hopes and our aspirations, who we are, our identity, because these things have value to us. Whether it is our personal identity, our cultural identity, our historic identity, who we are has value. And for someone to take that away for whatever reason, whether they think they're right or whether they just think they should, whether they are genuinely trying to offer you a hand up. We are superior. We understand what we're doing. What you have isn't anywhere near as good as ours. Leave that thing behind. And you mean my identity? Leave it behind. You don't need it. We know better. We will give you an identity. We will give you a purpose. We will make you part of us. Whether that is a forced bout of reconstructive cybernetic surgery or an embryo down your throat, it amounts to the same thing. Your identity, your individuality is broken down, taken apart, and only the part that someone else wants is enduring. Even if there is continuation of consciousness in the process, and in most of those cases, I really hope not. But even if there is still a you in there, it is not the you that you once were, and it will never be what the you wants to be. What you want to be changed because someone else had a superior view. "10 minutes of half-assed research into cultural assimilation, of expansion of Western civilization will give you all the examples of this that you need. Things that you can riff on and build on. What if it was like this, but with cybernetics? What if it was like this, but they had genetic engineering? What if it was like this, but they could push a button and make pie happen? What if? That's the joy of science fiction and fantasy literature. That is the power of these forms of literature. The strength of the allegory, and the fact that we can reach back into our history 500 years or 200 years or 50 and find all the evil we will ever need to fuel our giant star-spanning empires that need to be shattered. The Borg should never lose. They're written such that they have all of the advantages. That's the villain that needs to get taken down the most. And those are the ones to do. The Empire had all of the advantages. They had the manpower, they had the technology, they had the firepower, they had the fleets. And this ragtag bag of rebels with one magical space wizard amongst them shouldn't have been able to take that down. If you put a screen door on the Death Star, it wouldn't have been blown up. But taking down these empires are. The Cybermen generally lose. The Borg, despite their best efforts and rewriting their structure a number of times, still don't endure at the height of their power for long at all, not from the point of view that we're looking at them through. It is an amazing exercise to build one of these civilizations, build one of these star-spanning or world-crushing villains. Whether fantasy, science fiction, whether it's the empire of dragons and the liches under them, or the cyborgs from the far stars who have incorporated so many different technologies and biologies into themselves that they are right next door to gods in their individual power. You build these amazing, unbeatable villains. If you're an author, you have the unenviable position of having to beat them yourselves. Granted, you can write weaknesses into them. You can give your civilization a 2-meter shaft straight to the reactor. If you're a game designer, you don't have to figure out how to beat them. That's what player characters are for. And player characters will do it. Player characters are some of the most rugged and powerful individuals you will ever meet, and they value that individuality to the point to where if you threaten it, oh yeah, they will move heaven and earth to find ways to make explosives much, much larger and much, much more destructive. You got a group of very dedicated player characters. They will go all Doc Smith on your evil empire, and it will be over. Because that's the other thing about these villainous empires. They lose. Eventually, they lose. Their stories almost always end with how they fall apart. And it is usually because they have over relied on their superiority. They have become blinded to the strengths of the individual and they fall. All of the strength in the world, all the numbers, all the firepower. When it meets the determined human spirit, when it meets the individual's desire to survive and grow, when the thumb on the head of the oppressed meets an oppressed who will not bow. That is where the rubber meets the road. That's where your story is written. That's what the pages and pages of the story are after you've described your villain. That is what you roll dice for in a role-playing game, is to make that evil empire fall, to show them that their belief in their superiority was a lie, that they were blinded to the fact that when they cast aside all the things they believed made them weak, they lost everything that could actually have made them strong. Except for the aliens, because those things are invincible. Nuke them from orbit. It's the only way to know for sure. Well, thank you for following me along with this particular rant. I love building me an evil empire. I might have to go and build another couple of them today just to see what I can come up with. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have evil empires of your own you'd like to describe, or things you'd like to work through in that process, if there's anything you'd like to hear me discuss, subjects you'd like to hear me cover, leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comments. You will love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do, hit the little notification bell next to it so you're alerted when my videos become available. If you'd like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps and allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I'll see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.